What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Pulse. My name's Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat. It is 1:30 Central Texas time, and I'm fired up because as of noon, Bitcoin's pumping. It went over 37.5. I'm like, what is going on to move something 5.9%? Have you paid attention? Literally within the last hour and a half. And that's pretty crazy. Do you know what it takes to move Bitcoin that much? It's insane how much has to be. There's a lot going on. What could it be? What could it be? It could be this. It might not be this. I'm sure you'll tell me. Crypto market sees net capital inflow for the first time in 17 months. A 90-day net change in the supply of the top four stablecoins has flipped positive, folks. This is good news. Look at that dollar inflating. I don't know if I like that or not. Money is flowing into crypto market through stablecoins and the US dollar peg tokens for the first time in over a year, according to data tracked by blockchain and analytics firm Glassnode. That's pretty cool, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe you're excited about that. Maybe you're not. Folks, that's a good sign. So welcome back to Crypto Heartbeat. My name is Matt. I was at TexasCon with some great people. I'm going to be sharing a video here after this of my talk, one of my talks at TexasCon. And I'm really fired up. Let's tokenize the world. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And I've decided that this is going to be a meaningful stream. I literally have said, all right, I'm going to share something I haven't shared before. I'm going to share it from the heart. It's Crypto Heartbeat. So let's do that. Let's say hello to you because you're in the chat. Crypto Compassion #1. Let's go. Sam Kemp says, yes, let's tokenize the world with DeFi. And that's the only way to do it. David, what is going on, man? Long time no see. Great to have you here. Sam's excited you're here too. Jane Pond, what's up? Good morning to you, Pulse Chain Trainer. It's lunchtime. I'm so glad you could catch. You're such a good friend of the channel, a good friend of the whole community. Thanks so much for being here. And then this guy, Senior Dev, what's up, Ryan Hungate? Been so wrapped up in work lately and hardly any time for myself. I need a rest. Let's go. Well, maybe you can sit here with the song stylings of Crypto Heartbeat and you can chill. Maybe you can, I don't know, have a beverage, sit back, relax. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then Hexy Quinn, what is up, Quinn? It's so good to have you. Thanks for all of your help. Everything went fantastic. And you were a big part of that. And you know what? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share with you actually at the first part of this stream how great TexasCon was and what was accomplished and the amazing things that happened to us as the team from Texan Token and how encouraged I am about the TNM and what's happening with Texas independence. Then we're going to get into a big thought and desire. And that is, how do you go about tokenizing the world? Really? Yeah. Some people think of global domination. I think about give away what you want to receive. Taryn, what's going on? Blessed day all. Jay Boog. What's up, Texans? Happy to be here. Thanks for being here. Hex enthusiast. Good morning. Let's go. Cookade Shagalata. Hello, Heartbeat. Hello, everyone. Magnus is here. Texan OG Day 1. What's up? Thank you for all of your help and support as well. And Identity Blocks is back. What's up, dude? Thanks so much. You're so consistent. Crypto Compassion Drix. What's going on? Hex Quinn. Hornet UK1. We just need a MetaMask airdrop for Christmas. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be interesting? That would be interesting. TexasCon, yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Pump up the likes. Thank you so much for that. Grand Prix SEC date fast approaching. Wouldn't take Richard and his brain on. Hang on, I've got to. This is Brandon from Rags to Riches calling in. I would take him normally, but I don't think he's ready for it. Can't wait to hear about TexasCon. It's been driving me nuts. Awesome. Well, yeah, I missed yesterday just trying to recover. I was sick actually during TexasCon, but I made it through. And Godfather J6, what's up? Always good to see you and always good to have you here. All right, folks, let's talk about TexasCon. So TexasCon happened the 9th through the 12th here in Waco, Texas. And it was an event held by the Texas Nationalist Movement. There were 43 different speakers there. And I'm going to tell you, it was incredible. Had a great turnout. I want to say probably 300 people there from across Texas and the world. I got to meet some amazing people. And what was really amazing about it was the way in which the Texas Nationalist Movement people embraced us as people and as the Texan token. I think they really finally got it. And I think Sam Kemp would probably agree with me. Like, people are like, wow, there actually is something valuable here. And of course, we know unless you got green candles, nobody's really paying attention. And you've got to have these macro indicators like, hey, there's more money coming into this. That's a good thing, right? We've got to see some momentum. And you know what? You've been here for a long time, so you know what's going on. But boy, this is the time to get your bags packed, as has been said. But I want to talk to you more about what is really happening and what would we do to tokenize the world? What would that look like? What would that look like? My camera is messing up. All right. So let's talk about this. So Brandon from Rags to Riches was there. ZZ Tesco was there. The David Lee was there. It was fantastic. We had Rat Food there. We had Sam Kemp there. We had so many awesome people there. Danny the singer was there. I'm gonna miss a bunch of people, I'm sure, as I go, but as I remember, I'll shout you out. But it was really cool. And one of the coolest things was towards the end of the conference, a man came up to me who is from the independence movement for England. And a little secret, because not everybody watches Crypto Heartbeat, we're having a conversation about tokenizing England. Yeah, yeah, I said it. England. Yeah, that's a country. Pretty cool, isn't it? Well, think about this, folks. This is really what drives this whole conversation about tokenizing the world and what does it take and what does it look like. So, super excited about that. But met a number of people that were just amazing. So, Dr. Stephen Turley was there, and Turley has Turley Talks. He is got like 1.2 million followers, and he spoke, and boy, was he engaging. We had Dr. Q was the foremost academic on independence movements. He's working on like 16 different groups across the world. So we had international people there, and then we had just such a mix of the faithful Texas Nationalist Movement people, and Brandon and David Lee and ZZ Tesco and so many people. Sam Kemp were helping people understand what is this Texan token thing, and it's hard for people to realize. You know what it's like, and a lot of I would say the T&M followers are skew a bit older. They're kind of crypto heartbeat age, if you will, and they don't exactly understand what's going on. And I think this was a big eye opener for them. And I felt this embracing. Here's why. One of the things that got announced at TexitCon was the fact that the TNM has raised all the money they need to get the referendum on the Republican primary ballot. Okay, stop. I'm going to say it again. Stop and think about this. 15 days from now, we need to have 50,000, I think it is, and Sam will correct me, signatures that will put a referendum, non-binding, on the Republican primary ballot. And this is a referendum that basically asks if people want Texas to be an independent nation again. Why is this so significant? This would be an official vote on the primary. It's not the referendum because a real referendum would have to go through the legislature. Texas is not a referendum state, but this is something that we can put. We can ask this question of Republican voters. It's going to be pretty exciting because this is going to stir up a lot of press and publicity. And so the folks at the TNM are going hard after this whole thing. And so I'm really excited about what this means because it's good for everyone. It's good for Texas independence, which we know, and it's good for Texan token. And so there were a number of people that were there who got introduced to the Texan token, and they're like, wow, we might want to pay attention to this before this referendum goes onto the ballot. So that's really exciting. There'll be more updates on that. But I think that's probably the excitement that I felt in the room. This was a really tangible thing. The money has been there. We're over half of the signatures, and we have the money to be able to get this over the finish line. And the reason I say the money is because the partner that we work with has shown that they're effective at getting registered Texas voters to sign the petition. And so TNM's gotten some help doing that. And that's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And so you felt a certain momentum in that room, but you also understood the gravity of the situation that we're in America and how upset people are and how much they want an alternative. And that alternative isn't just political, it's also financial. And what I was amazed by when I was speaking was this idea that, back in the 1860s, when things were in this crisis era, then they didn't have a complete overhaul of the financial system. Look at where we sit. We not only sit with independence of a nation and unrest around the world, but we also sit at this crossroads of a new economic order. And that's what I want to talk about in the second half of the stream is about what does it really look like to tokenize the world? What does that mean? How would you do it? What are the mechanisms by which you would do that? And I want to share some vision around that because it's part of what I've been called to. How do you unlock global generosity? What's the playbook? What do you do next? That's what we're going to be talking about. But it was really cool. So folks like Sam Kemp at TexitCon, we got an official affinity group. It's called Crypto Enthusiasts. If you go to t.me/crypto, maybe. Anyway, you can go in and find the affinity groups on tnm.me, and you can sign up for that. That's an affinity group with the TNM. And Sam Kemp is the guy that you'll be talking to who will help connect you with the right information. Brandon was very generous with his time, helping people understand the basics of crypto. He's connecting with people in Zoom and directly with people. He is a man of the people, if you know what I'm saying. And David Lee was tireless, absolutely tireless. Ramon Carrillo was there working the booth on Sunday. And folks, it was a very, very positive event. We met some people who are in politics. We met people in the financial world. I was really impressed with the group of people there. But the general sense, I think, for those of you who are in the Texan token and in crypto, is that out of all of the projects that I look at across the Pulse chain, I don't know of any that are actually attached to a large group of no coiners. I really don't. I mean, the Texas Nationalist Movement has 500,000 members. And so if you think about, if you got to go fishing in new users, right? Metcalfe's law, it needs to grow in adoption. Well, a lot of the things that we have are recycling the current money and the current people that are in the community. We're actually focused on a group outside that knows nothing about crypto. That's direct. And a tide has turned. And when you see the money and the political will and the referendum all coming together, you hear the excitement, it's about go time, folks. And this is really cool. So the timeline for Texas independence is a long one. And so to give you an idea of what will happen is that by December 1st, we have to have all of the signatures for the Republican primary to put it on the ballot. Then that goes, I believe, in April. And then we've got to get the right people in the right seats for the next session of the state house, because a bill has to be introduced that puts it on the ballot, right? A referendum, it's not just a referendum state like California. So we got to make sure we have the right candidates who are going to support putting this question to the Texas voters. And so that would mean in November of 2024 that we would see on the ballot this non-binding referendum. Well, once that happens, then what happens? Well, look at Brexit, right? A vote is just the beginning. Then there's all the negotiation and all the squabbling, but then that gives people an opportunity to be at the table and to reboot the system. This isn't about one political party winning over another. It's about actually saying, what if we restarted this? What if we rebooted the system and reset it to its default settings? What would happen? And what should we have things? Should we have an IRS? Should we have an FBI? Should we have an SEC? There's a lot of really interesting questions. And that's the exciting thing, right? And ultimately, where do good people go? I think they go to Texas. What does it say? Y'all can go to hell. I'm going to go to Texas. All right, let's say hello to you, and then we'll get into the main reason that we came here. Let's see who else is here. Drix with the eyeballs. Droning on again and again. England's chickens are coming home to roost. Amen. Well, you think about the Union Jack. What do you see? You see a layover of flags. That core flag is England, right? That red cross. ID, we should tokenize Puerto Rico. The Bitcoin Foundation would help us. Hey, you got relationships and connections. And you know what? I'm going to use that identity blocks. I'm going to use that as an example of how we tokenize the world. Okay. That's actually really good that you brought that up because it could be anywhere. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So the T&M dumpers are all out. Yeah, likely because they've got a case. They've learned what's it about. Here's the thing. I've learned a big lesson in this whole crypto founding, and that is this: don't give token to poor people. And you're like, oh, you just learned that now, crypto heartbeat? Yeah, guess what? Poor people need money. They're not holders because they literally can't survive. And so airdrops, they have a purpose, but airdrops in a bull market are way better than airdrops in a bear market. I'll just say that. Rich liberation, what's going on? And Hexaquin with the fire. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning and let's talk about tokenizing the world. This is the first time in human history. Oh, my battery's going out. It's not really. It's just going to flash on you there. That's to say this is important. So every time you see that flashing, it means this is important. This is the first time in human history where financial power and political power have been separated. Okay. This is a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Because we have the ability to decentralize the money. And when I say we, I really mean we. It's an agreement that we make. So let's take Hex, for example. If you're a Hexakin, how did this thing begin? Well, there's this guy named Richard Hart, and Richard Hart is a smart guy, but he was in Bitcoin, right? He double clicked the exe file and he got 50 Bitcoin in a block. The guy's still sitting on a tremendous amount of Bitcoin or wrapped Bitcoin. He is rich. What's interesting about Richard Hart is that he understood that there were problems with Bitcoin, right? He understood the original cypherpunk intentions, which was no middlemen. Get rid of the guys in the middle. No counterparty risk, censorship resistance. And it's removing the power of this transaction and makes it peer-to-peer. Well, the blockchain in and of itself is this massive decentralization event that is outside of governments. And what are we dealing with right now? We're dealing with governments who are heavy-handed. We've got out of control bureaucracies, we've got out of control regulations, and the government that's supposed to be there based on the consent of the governed is actually there and it's oppressive. They're not making your life better, they're making it worse. They're using it as a political weapon. And so what do? There comes a time in human events where we have to abolish or change these things, and that's what we're doing. What's more important, though, is this event in which Bitcoin has kicked off. It's not the fact that the technology exists, it's that a group of people believed in it. And so, thus, Hex. Richard Hart was and is a charismatic person. He is definitely able to get attention. And what did he do? He got your attention and he got my attention at the bottom of the last bear market. And he built something that he said was going to be a better Bitcoin. That's pretty aggressive. And anyone that he told that to said, yeah, whatever, buddy, you're a scammer, because they didn't believe it. And true innovators come out of there. It's funny. There's a quote that's attributed to Henry Ford. He said, if I asked customers what they wanted, they'd tell me faster horses. Customers, meaning the populace, doesn't know what they need. Steve Jobs was the same way. Faster horses. Well, you wouldn't have said the automobile because you didn't know it even existed. So you have to create these things. Well, here we have this thing called Bitcoin, and now we have this thing called Hex. And we have all of these things that ride on the rails of Ethereum, what we call altcoins. The beauty of this is right now, because only 4 or 5% of people in the world have adopted this cryptocurrency, it's purely speculative right now. And it's driven by story or meme. Richard often says that our made-up internet money is better than the government's made-up internet money. And when you boil it all down, because it's not backed by gold anymore, it's the greatest thing, right? Neglect becomes our ally. Neglect becomes our ally. You've neglected the system and you've pulled it off of the gold standard so you could have cheap, easy money, so you could grease the skids of innovation and sell our posterity down the river, right? Stealing from your grandchildren so you can get what you want now. And what does that lead us to? The fact that this is just an agreement. And because we form governments, right, and we're governed by our own consent and we are the sovereigns, money has shown us with Bitcoin and Hex and these things that it's a decision that we make together in community. And that's why it reflects Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law is about a communication network that grows. And that price of the token is a square of its growth. And it's true. Well, how do you grow these things? Well, more buyers than sellers and the price goes up. But what's more important here is the fact that the network grows. Well, what is the network? These are holders or adopters of your particular cryptocurrency. What's interesting is the narrative of who Richard is, the extension of who he is. Smart guy, blue collar, bumped his head on the roof, doing HVAC work, growing up in Florida, all those things. It didn't attract the folks on Wall Street. Maybe a couple of them, but it's like whales only, right? It's not your fwa boys who, were in the Hamptons hanging out on the beach, right? Oh, whose beach house are we staying at this weekend, Ted? Right? This is the meat and potatoes folks, right? This is the blue collar people. And so there's an identity to this community. It gets built, and we see this smart, visionary guy who says, I'm building a better Bitcoin. And then some people believe it and get into it. And we see green candles, and it goes up 10,000x in 623 days. Wow, that's pretty good evidence. But all it is a shared fiction. Fiction is something that's not true. It is shared fiction. It's a shared narrative. It is a shared story. So if we extrapolate that out to how we tokenize the world, it's actually through a narrative that we agree to. And you think about the great battles, right? Think about Braveheart. Remember that? Braveheart, he's going up and down the line on his horse. He's like, you're not William Wallace, right? And he's going, all right, guys, we have to hold. And he's like, hold, right? And they've got those sharp, pointy sticks. You got to hold that line. Well, what is that? In fighting of this battle, you have agreement, right? And look at the Scots, right? They were unified. And it's the same thing is true here, is that in communities of trust and confidence and belief, we can amass economic value and economic energy. And that's what really defines these things, because think about this. An Australian dollar that's printed on PVC doesn't work in Central Texas. It just doesn't. Now, there are a lot of places you can take a US dollar because people recognize its value, but I cannot buy a Coca-Cola at the corner store with Australian dollars. Why? Because the corner store doesn't have an agreement on PVC money. And in that lies this whole opportunity we have, because in this system, we are enslaved by debt. We're enslaved by this system that we just were born into, and we just believe it and agree with it. And no one has literally come to us and say, hey, we can change this. Many of you are in the choir that I'm preaching to right now. You know this stuff, but I want you to understand the real value. The real value is that people across the world could come in together into community, but they have to agree on something. They have to have trust among them. They have to have a reason to be united. So Identity Block said, hey, what about Puerto Rico? Okay, let's use it as an example. What is Puerto Rico but a piece of dirt, right? It's got some boundaries. It's got some people. It's got some identity. Well, what would that look like if you tokenized the people? And why would you do it? But you could take any country, any currency, any affinity group, any large group of people that kind of sees things the same way. You could have it a political organization. You could have a religious organization. At the end of the day, the people have to have connective tissue in which they can connect and share. Why is the TNM such a powerful group? Because they are motivated, and it seems like every day things get out of hand and they're more motivated. Well, what if there was a tool called this financial tool called Texan that could help you accomplish your goal? So the financial side of things it's a powerful tool, but it's based on agreement. So how do you tokenize the world? Well, number one, you have to find groups and what they have affinity to. And that's the hardest thing, right? So I was watching on Netflix, there's a special about David Beckham. You know that guy? It's an amazing story. There's a couple episodes there. And David Beckham literally became the laughing stock because of what he had done, the mistake that he had made. And they never let him live it down until he ended up winning the European Cup. This whole redemption story. But what's amazing about it is I saw the people for Manchester United. They hadn't won since 1968, and they were so rabid. And you know that the footballers, and their county or club team, the same thing is true. Where are the people passionate, have agreement, have association, and see things similarly? Well, Hex organically grew this, but to think that it's not somewhat homogeneous would be a mistake. Because when I go to Texan or Hex meetups and I meet with people, Pulse Chain meetups, there's a certain type of person that's there. And I don't mean a certain, ethnicity or a certain age, but there's a group of people that sees the world a certain way that are there. I mean, look at Cardano, right? You just have to be basically a nerd to be into the Cardano. How many Cardano streamers are there? And who are they? They live in their mom's basement, right? That's the nerd cryptocurrency, right? And if you think about it, there's all these memes. Well, what's a meme? Hey, I know what that is. I can relate to that. But that's, how do things and why do things go viral? But the things that are going to be fundamentally powerful is, what if we were to tokenize the world? And this is my aim in life. How do you unlock global generosity? Well, you have to give. And what do we not have that we need to have? So I want to equate this to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, as a young man, found himself at the computer club, right? But he lived right in an area where there was an amazing amount of innovation. He had friends of his dad that had worked at HP, some that were at Xerox PARC, and he got exposed to a lot of the things that were happening, innovations that were happening in that time. And what's interesting about it is he was noted for talking about the personal computer with an analogy of it's the bicycle of the mind. And I think it's a terrible analogy, but it's worth investigating. At the time, what he's saying is that human, transportation, you could only walk so fast. And the advent of the bicycle literally was an exponential change in the ability for a human to traverse land. Now, obviously, we had horses and such, but as far as a mechanism that was man-made, not an animal, that could increase your speed in transport as much as the bicycle did, he compared the personal computer to that. Well, he had seen it at the beginning, right? There were the big VAX machines that were literally in these huge, these are the mainframes that were at the bottom of universities and in big businesses. But he said, what would it look like if people actually had a computer on their desktop? And people laughed at that time, right? I want to make a connection that I see that I hopefully you will see as well. This idea of the money is no different than the personal computer. Why do I mean that? What do you use a personal computer for? I'm using it to stream. You might use it for a spreadsheet. You might use it for Pinterest. You might use it for all kinds of different things. I think Brandon uses it for Pinterest. He's got so many of those boards. Yeah, his vision board. You should see that. Has a lot of ginger things on it. But you see what I'm getting at? That there is this amazing thing that the infrastructure of the money, meaning programmable money, does for people, but it has to happen within communities of trust. But if a community of trust comes around, i.e. Hexicans, and agrees with this meme, which is, yeah, we're going to fight like pirates are, billions of dollars of value are created and stored. That's a miracle. No government did that. You did that. You participated. You extended by proxy your labor. That's all money is. It's a function of your creative ability. That's what it is. Oh, man. Jay Pond says, take my PVC money. Love your work, Harvey. The Australians are fantastic. Some of the greatest people on planet Earth. Jay Pond, thanks so much. Sorry, I had to call it PVC money, but they won't accept it here, man. I appreciate you so much. Thanks so much for that. So great. So let's talk about tokenizing the world. I believe that the programmable money, whether it's Texan, Ophir, Hex, whatever it may be, depending on what your affiliation is in your relationship, you're Manchester United, are you footballers, what is it that binds you together that you can basically gain some common ground. Is that religious? Is that mere proximity? Your locality? Is it your state? Is it your country? Is it your currency? Is it your language? There are things that you would associate with others. ZZ Tesco is Italian. He likes everything Italian. You know what I mean? And he does that when he says it, right? There's a certain thing that people, whether you're, doesn't matter where you are. Filipinos are the same way. Filipinos are everywhere around the world, but boy, they're connected. So I don't know what those affinity groups are, but I know this. They currently don't have DeFi of their own. I'll say that again. In order to tokenize the world, you have to give the infrastructure, or in this case, the bicycle or the PC, to the people that they consider their own. Right now, if you're going to adopt Hex, the world is not going to adopt Hex as the next world reserve currency. Why? Because it's Richard Hart's. And I mean that. Richard is the barrier from adoption of the world. Why? Because it's tied to his personal identity and glory. Do people associate? Do they consider it their own? No, you've bought into this meme. So the meme has to be something that you feel like the TNM says, this is Texan. We're Texans. It's theirs. It's not mine. Heck, I'm from Michigan. People have to see their identity in that, but they have to realize what this gift is. And it's not just the contract. I want you to understand that. It's not just the contract code. It's the fact that it has to be liquid on the market. And so here's the big thing. I'm gonna literally frame this whole thing. If we took 193 countries and we gifted them a token, and that's stakeable, it's awesome. Maybe it's an endowment contract on the blockchain. The important thing isn't that they have the technology, because there's thousands and thousands of programmable contracts on the blockchain, but it has to be something that's theirs. So we take a page out of the church. How does the church grow in the world, and how did it grow in the world, and why did 3.2 billion people consider themselves followers of Jesus? Hey, that might be a good model, pretty viral thing. They went to the person of peace. How do churches form, start, and grow? You go to the person of peace. I don't know if you know this, but in every people group, in every relationship group that you have, there's someone that's the hub of the wheel. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's say you're in a fraternity in college or a sports team and all that. There's always one person that's in your kind of friend group that's the hub. You always call that person, go, hey, what's Johnny doing? Yeah, what's Rags up to? Who's the hub? Who are those people? And they just naturally are that way in community. And so when things pass their way through, they go through the hubs. These are the people who end up sharing the information. And there was a research project that was done by Malcolm Gladwell that reflected this. And I won't go into that, but it was in the book called The Tipping Point. And how many hops does it take to get something across the country was the big question they asked. But the reason I mention that is because people have to have this identity and relate to what the token is, but it has to have liquidity. So imagine this scenario right now. Why are countries and big groups not adopting your cryptocurrency of your choice? Well, what's interesting about it is so many times people in crypto are trying to scam people. And so often there's all these questions about trust. I believe at some point in time, either countries or individual private parties are going to create and lead groups to invest in themselves in DeFi. So here's an example, 193 countries. Let's say you give a token contract to each country. Great. It's got staking, whatever the supply is. And you're like, that's not going to work. Okay, fine. And then let's say you take $100,000 of liquidity and you put that $100,000 worth of liquidity on each token. That's $19.3 million. Okay. So let's say you put it in USDC. I don't care what the pair is. Okay. 193 different tokens named for your country. And then you put $100,000 worth of liquidity on each one. And all of the supply is in the trading pair. Okay. No supply is reserved for founders. No supply is referred to the team. No supply is given to anyone. There's no airdrop. Well, that would be a really cheap token, and you would know that no one can get it unless they market buy it. So how do you go about tokenizing the world? You have to give away what you want to receive. But no one does that. Why? Because it's counterintuitive and there's no benefit to you. So who out there is willing to give to the world? I told you that I was called to unlock global generosity by giving, and that was inspired by the feeding of the 5,000 because there was a boy who overheard Andrew say to Jesus, "Hey, these people are hungry. Should they get some food?" And the boy goes, "Hey, you can have my 5 loaves and 2 fish." He gave all that he had to him. And what ended up happening? He prayed, broke the bread, and there were 12 basketfuls left over. Why? Because there's an abundance in this world, folks. And if you're not willing to give and give it all and not retain any for yourself and let it go, and I mean give and then give and then give some more, it unlocks generosity. Why? Because you've given people the infrastructure to be able to embrace their own DeFi. Do you want to know how we get away from central banks and cripple the financial system? Is by not agreeing with them and agreeing together in community. But we have to have the infrastructure to do it. And everybody's like, everybody should buy Hex. They can't buy Hex. You know why? Because they don't all identify with Richard Hart. And that's a requirement. So the future of the infrastructure of DeFi has to be based on what people identify with, not what you think they should identify with. They have to be passionate and trust each other. And a lot of that in our world is based on the dirt that you live on. So it requires not only the gift of DeFi, truly immutable contracts on the blockchain with no admin keys, but also liquidity. Somebody's got to step up with some real money and say, I'm going to give this gift to the world. It is possible, and the future is coming when there will be those options. But then you think about it. Well, hang on, Crypto Heartbeat. Hang on. How does this work? So let's say you're France or Spain, and there's a crypto that's been given to you. Well, how do people know about it? Well, there's probably somebody in this community who goes, dude, the people I know are going to love this. Well, what if I got in? It's like 7 or 8 zeros and a 1. There's no one is sitting on supply. No one can dump on your head. The liquidity is locked and it's all in the trading pair. And it's like 7 or 8 zeros and a 1. And you're like, holy crap, $5,000 into this deal? Ooh, I need to tell some people about it. That's how everything grows. Hey, we got this thing. Hey, word of mouth. And what is the story? We reclaim our sovereignty and we have the resources to do it in. And people don't see it. They don't see it. Everybody wants their baby. My baby's the prettiest one. You have to buy mine. Get a tattoo of my baby on your face. You don't have to. We can tokenize the world, but you have to care about people more than you care about just yourself. We could turn this whole damn thing around and have no one. I mean, the central banks are out of business. That's what DeFi does, and you all know it. Well, no, it's got to be the pulse chain. It's got to be this. No, we have to give the infrastructure. This is like giving everyone a personal computer. I don't care what you do with the money. That's up to you. But you know what will happen is there'll be an abundance because you're investing in your people. What's amazing about that, in my opinion, is that this idea of giving the gift of DeFi to the world requires not only the right tokenomics, the right type of programming to money, but it has to be given to people and they have to believe that it's theirs. Well, what are the things that make up your affinity? Maybe it is your country. Maybe it is your affinity group. Maybe it's your religious group. I don't know what it is. But if people agree and store their proxies of labor in this contract, the future is really looking good that you're going to have the ability to potentially win big because more buyers than sellers. Early bird gets the worm in this case. And that's why I'm so enamored with this time in human history that we're in. But the question is anyone going to be selfless enough to give it away? So I'm going to say it to you right now. If you've got $19.3 million, let's talk. I'll do all the contract work and we'll give it away. We won't retain a single token. We will give it completely away and lock that liquidity. And we will change the entire world. We will give the gift of DeFi to the world. Not based on my face or my logo. No, it's yours. We're giving it to you. It's the infrastructure. I mean, I like the Apple brand, but I don't think about Steve Jobs when I use a computer. The point, though, is that people need to have something that is their own. Because once they realize that this is mine, not yours, these are immutable, contracts. This is literally my keys, my coins. No one else can stand in the way. And in fact, when I push this damn button, it's speech. And I'm going to tell my friends about this. And I'm one beggar helping another beggar find food. And the more we gather together, the more we fight against this corrupt, authoritarian, scarcity-driven war machine. I'm a little bit passionate about this. Can we tokenize the world? Heck yeah, we can tokenize the world. But we can't expect a damn thing from it for ourselves. Is it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it. A rising tide lifts all boats. But that's the thing. Think about if you've ever been in network marketing. Raise your hand if you've been in network marketing. Network marketing is a beautiful thing. It's the products that suck. And the fact that there's all these middlemen and downlines and crap. But the idea of people talking with each other and saying, hey, there's a better future tomorrow if you're using this thing is extremely powerful, right? We only use communication networks and social media now. People used word of mouth. And relationships are where it's at. And imagine you could go to somebody, and it's the way that you feel about Hex right now or buy anything. I'm going to tell somebody about this thing because I think it could potentially change the trajectory of their life. It might even birth a new nation. That's the hope that we give when we give the gift of DeFi to people. But see, right now, it's all splintered, and there are people that are haves and have-nots, and everybody's trying to pump their own bags. What I'm suggesting is a wholesale gift of DeFi to the world and not retaining a single token. That's actually a gift. That's how you unlock global generosity. You give. And you lock the liquidity and you don't touch it. And there's no one who can dump on your heads. They have to market buy. But people will see that and they'll be like, man, what if this caught on? What if this caught on? What if this caught on? That's hope and belief in a future that's better than it is today. And I'm telling you, folks, this is big time stuff. This is how we transform the world from scarcity to abundance. And think about this. Let's say a country takes advantage of this. Then people could know that when they invest in that token, the supply doesn't change because somebody changes a database record. No, it's fixed, it's locked, it's code. It's not going to change. And so when you invest in it, you're investing in the people of that area. So Texan, you'd be investing in Texans. In Ophir, you'd be investing in Filipino people. Whatever the token may be. Tokenization is literally us taking back the financial power. And this is what they're scared of. This is why the CBDCs, this is why the battle over stable coins. It's because they don't want you to amass your labor with anyone but them. Why am I so excited about this? Is because we can win this war. And this war doesn't have guns yet. Look who's in the chat. The real question is not the battery icon. It's whether or not the fire in the background is real. You should put a chair in the fire to prove it's real. Leave it up to Daniel Miller. He is the head honcho, the King Kamehameha of the Texas Nationalist Movement. It's great to have you here, and your comedic relief is always valued. Folks, we're living in the greatest time in human history. Financial power and political power are separating, but we will not benefit from that financial power because the evil people that are in control of the scarcity do not want you to be on an even footing with them. The evil people that are controlled by evil forces that control the money do not want you to be on an even footing with them. DeFi changes all of that. It knows no rank or riverbank. That's it. And what's so beautiful about it is it's bringing people together in community. So in my opinion, we could tokenize the world. Got about $20 million. You could do it tomorrow. Trading pairs, $100,000 a piece, one for each nation, locked liquidity, and Bob's your uncle. Or perhaps Daniel's your uncle. Mark Hansen, thanks so much. You deserve, what is that, 100,000 followers? Thanks so much, man. MT Corner, what's going on? Thanks to all of you and the team for being at Texicon and helping to make it a success. Daniel Miller, I just want to say thank you. I noticed the look on your face. I could tell that you were, one, a bit weary because you'd been working so hard to coordinate the conference. But I also saw a little twinkle in your eye because I see that you can taste how close this referendum is. Folks, if you're a part of the TNM, you guys are in special, special time. And all of the things that need to be done, this is go time, the last 15 days of this. And I'm going to tell you, if this makes it on the Republican, it's not just about what it means because it's non-binding. It's what it's going to say to the world. Oh yeah, it's on the ballot. Yeah, it's on, and this is a primary ballot. But folks are going to come out of the woodwork, and you watch, but pay attention. This is all for control and power. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to give it away. DeFi is the great equalizer of financial world. It's the first time political power and financial power has been separated. Let's usher in a new season of abundance. That's all. It's pretty simple. Identity Blocks, thanks so much. That twinkle is the allergy meds. You know what? I hear you, man. I was struggling. When freedom, swap freedom. Dude, that's what we're working on right now. Actually, Ryan Hungate, he was stopping into the chat. He should be working on it right now. So we're getting close to that. So what I approve this message. Thanks, Drix. What Hornet UK1 is talking about is our team is working on a V3's V3 of Uniswap, a fork of that called Freedom Swap, an incentive token that is called Unifier, and then we've got some other clever things up our sleeves as it relates to what I just talked to you about. How do you tokenize the world? I got to meet the guy who's in charge of English exit. It's not about, England or Texas. It's about people having an opportunity to forge their own future financially. And what does that mean for politics? What makes politics run? What greases the skids of the political underbelly, if not money? Folks, this is such a big deal, but we need good leadership, and we need people who are going to recognize the fact that they need to let go and give it away to people and let them have it. One of the greatest things I ever learned in my young life was that people support what they help to create. People support what they help to create. What does that mean? People support what they help to create. You have to see yourself, your own fingerprints on the thing, or you won't support it. Why actually are people why there are 180 streamers in the Pulse Chain community? Because we know Richard can't do it all, and he's actually pulled back. It's actually better for us. Everybody's like, I want Richard Hart to stream or whatever. No. That's actually the beauty of it. The only reason you really stepped up or I stepped up is because he was being attacked and you came to his defense, right? You don't build it if you can rely on the guy to do it. No, you got to take it upon yourself. And that's the key to building community, is that people recognize what's at stake. They don't just rely on some good speaker or Richard Hart, some super smart guy. No, you got to step up and be a part of it. But we are creating this future that we live in. So if people support what they help to create, think about this for a second. The next time you're leading anything in your life, you have a vision for what the outcome is. Don't tell people right off the bat. Don't tell them. Lead them, facilitate, include them. When somebody shares a dumb idea, don't say, that's a dumb idea. Say, okay, and yeah, what about this? Let's collaborate with people. Let's help people see that they are involved in the creation of it. And that's why we have this amazing opportunity of giving the infrastructure of DeFi to the world, because they can make it their own by saying, I'm going to take a piece of myself, my creative ability that creates, that I get paid these dollar bills for, which is a proxy of labor. And I'm going to put that and try to store that in this place. And it may be speculative and it may drop 85%, but I'm going to take the risk on this. And I'm going to hope that it preserves or grows my creative ability, this investment that I make in myself, because I'm the only one that can engage in this contract. And I'm going to tell everybody I know, because that's not going to change the way these central bankers are changing everything and printing money and just taking it right out of your pocket. Because if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, it's not backed by anything. They say it's backed by the good faith and credit of the United States of American citizens. What does that mean? We're willing to extract value from you and give it to Ukraine. I'm willing to steal from you. That's what the good faith and credit. It's your production, your creative ability in mass, GDP, that I'm going to reach into indiscriminately and steal out of your pocket, whether through inflation, however I need to. I'm going to ride on your back and I'm going to take from you. I mean, heck, no taxation without representation. Got to have a say, man. That's what's happening. It's called theft, by the way. It's legalized theft. And we won't have it anymore. So that's like, add that to like the 543rd reason of Texas independence and for your own personal independence. I don't care where you live. I hope that you would consider joining me and Rags and our team as we think about tokenizing the world, giving the gift of the infrastructure of DeFi, and recognizing that no one has to adopt our brand. Let's give them their brand. Them seeing their fingerprints and owning it, because people support what they help to create. Let's let them create their own future by giving them the infrastructure of DeFi. Folks, thanks for joining the Pulse today. My name is Matt, and sorry, the battery never died. Folks, take care of yourself and do not mess with Texas. See you soon.